Her panic attack paused mid-cry when his text came in. I'm Matt, 28, raised on Sunday Costco runs and Midwestern politeness. Now planted in Austin with a tech job and a condo that still smells like new carpet. Emily, 27, Palais lean, sun-freckled, catastrophically allergic to confrontation, moved in last fall with 3 suitcases and a fern named Lenny. The first time I brought up passwords and boundaries, basic, hey, can we talk about what fidelity means to us, stuff, she clutched her chest like I'd fired a starter pistol in a church. I can't breathe, Matt. Why would you do this? The sound of her gasping ricocheted around our kitchen while I scrambled for water, a paper bag, anything. The moment I shifted the conversation to, it's okay, we don't have to talk about it, she calmed, like a switch had been flipped. It happened again when I asked why a guy named Tyler Venmo'd her $50 with a lobster emoji in last night. Same script, hands to throat, knees on tile, a cyclone of I'm spiraling and please don't abandon me until my guilt drowned out my curiosity. We started seeing Dr. Patel on Thursdays, mostly so I could say, hey, I'm trying, and Emily could call me controlling in a room with a mediator. Every time Dr. Patel nudged Emily toward transparency, Emily's breathing would stutter, she'd whisper the same refrain, when you interrogate me, I feel unsafe, like I'm suffocating, and the session would detour into grounding exercises. I told myself trauma is messy. I told myself good men hold space. I told myself out loud in the shower, she loves you, man. Love is patient, remember? Even my best friend Lucas only heard the abridged version, because admitting I was tiptoeing in my own house felt like admitting weakness. But patterns, when repeated enough, stop feeling random and start feeling scripted, and Emily's attacks were starting to feel like a rerun I couldn't turn off. It was a Tuesday, humid and sullen. I was making tacos, she was doom-scrolling TikTok in one of my college teas. I said as gently as I could, can we revisit the Tyler thing? It's been 4 months, Em, I just need honesty. The word honesty barely cleared my lips before she folded, palms on her sternum, breath hitching. My stomach clenched, but something in me, tired, frayed, didn't leap to rescue. Instead I watched. Gasp, whimper. The exact phrasing, when you interrogate me, I feel unsafe, like I'm suffocating, delivered in the same cadence as in Dr. Patel's office. Then her Apple Watch buzzed. A bright rectangular flash. I saw it because she jerked her wrist reflexively. 2 words on the screen, I'm outside. For a heartbeat, her eyes darted, micro-panicked in a different direction and the sobbing stuttered. That was the moment the fog burned off. I pulled my phone from my pocket, thumbed open voice memos, and hit record. Emily, I said evenly, look at me. The heaving resumed immediately, but sharper, practiced. I moved the phone to the counter, hit speaker with another phone call to Lucas so I'd have a timestamp and let her run. When I asked, what makes you feel unsafe, she launched into the same monologue, word for word, ending with, I can't breathe when trust feels conditional. I asked, why did your watch just say I'm outside? Silence. Not gasping, not coughing, just silence. She froze mid-cry, like an actor missing her cue. The air between us crackled. Then a desperate pivot. You're recording me? That's abuse. Her voice wasn't breathless anymore. It was sharp, controlled. I said nothing and walked toward the door. Through the peephole, a silhouette, male, baseball cap, texting. I cracked it. Can I help you? He looked up, startled. Tyler? I didn't know his face, but I knew the smug half-smile from Instagram. He blurted, oh, I think I got the wrong unit, then took off down the hall. Behind me, Emily's sobs restarted at full volume, like a fire alarm test. I lifted the phone closer to catch every syllable. She cycled through new lines. You can't do this to me. I'll faint. I need my inhaler. She doesn't have asthma. Before landing back on the suffocation script. When she realized I wasn't engaging, she grabbed for a lifeline. Fine. I kissed him once. It meant nothing. Please, please don't leave. The transition from fatal gasps to coherent bargaining was jarring enough to give me whiplash. I didn't answer. I texted Dr. Patel, need to play you something Thursday, important. I texted her dad, Tom, the retired cop who once bragged he could smell lies like gasoline. Could we all talk this weekend? I'm concerned about Em. Then I spent the night on the couch, headphones on, listening to the audio loop like a prosecuting attorney studying evidence before trial. Every I can't breathe lined up with a question about trust. Every pivot, every plea, the same syllables in the same order. a pattern so precise it felt spreadsheeted. Saturday came. Her parents drove in from Waco. Emily thought they were visiting for brunch. I told her we'd do pancakes. Dr. Patel agreed to meet us an hour before our normal time. Ethically iffy maybe, but he'd heard enough "I can't breathe" to be curious. Emily had spent the last 2 days oscillating between cloying sweetness and slamming doors, like a roulette wheel of manipulation. I kept my answers clipped neutral. "We'll talk Saturday." In the living room, Tom planted himself on the edge of the couch, arms crossed. Linda, her mom, had worry etched across her forehead. Dr. Patel sat in our accent chair with a notepad, patient eyes curious. Emily perched beside Lenny the Fern, mascara already threatening to run, ribcage rising as if on cue. I placed my phone on the coffee table, thumb hovering over play. "Before we start," I said, "I want everyone to hear something, and I need you to really listen." Emily's mouth opened. "Matt, please don't, I can't." I hit play. The room filled with her voice, sobbing, pleading. "When you interrogate me, I feel unsafe, like I'm suffocating." And then 10 seconds later, the Apple Watch chime and my voice asking about the message. I scrubbed forward to the second recording, from Dr. Patel's office 2 weeks prior. Same line, same cadence. Even the pause before suffocating matched. I watched Tom's eyes narrow. Linda's hand found her mouth. Dr. Patel's brows climbed, then knit together. Emily tried to talk over it. I raised my palm. "Hold on." I layered 2 clips, overlapping them so the phrases echoed each other like a chorus. Perfect. Word for word. Emily lunged for the phone. Tom's hand shot out faster than I'd ever seen a 61-year-old move. "Sit down," he said, voice low, cop mode engaged. Dr. Patel cleared his throat. "Emily, can you help me understand why your responses are so consistent? It sounds practiced." Emily's eyes flashed. She tried to gasp, but it sputtered like a lighter out of fuel. "You're all ganging up on me," she spat. "He's been controlling, recording me. That's illegal." Tom shook his head. "Texas is one-party consent, kiddo." Linda whispered, "Emily, did you tell someone to come over Tuesday?" Silence again. That damning, heavy silence. I tapped another file. A shorter clip where she whispers, "Just wait outside until I say it's safe." Lucas had boosted the audio for me overnight. You could clearly hear the whisper. The room went glacial. Emily's shoulders slumped. Her script was out of pages. Dr. Patel leaned forward. "Emily, this is the moment to choose honesty. Manipulating panic to avoid accountability isn't sustainable for you or anyone." She looked at me, not defiant now, just cornered. "I didn't know how else to keep you from leaving," she said, voice small, the first genuine sound I'd heard in months. "I thought if you felt bad, you'd stay." Tom exhaled like a tire losing air. Linda blinked tears. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The audio had already done the talking, the syllables I'd memorized finally echoing in other people's heads. The fern's leaves trembled in the AC draft. Outside, a car horn honked, ordinary and distant. Inside, everything had just shifted. Word for word. Tom rubbed his temples like he was trying to press the truth deeper into his skull, while Emily stared at the rug pattern as if it might rearrange into a loophole. Dr. Patel asked if she wanted a break. She shook her head, but not in panic, more like a kid refusing broccoli. I could feel that old reflex. Rush in, soothe, fix, itching under my skin, but I kept my hands flat on my knees. Lucas texted, "You good?" I slid the phone face down. Emily finally spoke, voice hushed. I was scared. Tyler was a distraction. I didn't sleep with him, okay? We just kissed twice. Tom's eyes flicked to me. I didn't need to say anything. I opened my laptop instead, mirroring the screen to the TV. "Find my," I said. "Shared location, you left it on." A map popped up, dotted lines from our condo to a South Lamar apartment 3 different nights, past midnight. Linda made a tiny wounded sound. Emily's lip trembled, but tears didn't come. "We just talked," she tried, "about how you make me feel trapped." Dr. Patel sighed audibly. "Emily, weaponizing panic to shut down hard conversations is abusive. So is emotional triangulation. We can unpack why you did it, but only if you stop lying." Her shoulders slumped again like the air was leaking out of a parade balloon. "He stayed over once," she whispered. "I thought if Matt saw I had options, he'd back off." The logic hit the room like a bad smell. Options. Back off. I felt heat behind my eyes, not crying, rage, the kind that makes your hands steady, not shaky. I stood. "You need to pack," I said. Calm, almost bored. "Tom, Linda, I'll cover a hotel for you tonight." Emily, you can get the rest with someone here to supervise tomorrow. I'll Venmo you your half of next month's rent and terminate the lease on Monday. She blinked, confused by the absence of yelling. We can fix this. Matt, please, I can change. Her voice trailed off as she realized the performance space had been boarded up. No audience, no script. Tom offered to help me box her stuff. Dad energy redirected into logistics. We labeled things, closet, bathroom, Lenny. She insisted on taking the fern. Emily hovered, deflated, trying on different tactics like outfits. Apology, seduction. Remember our trip to Santa Fe? Victimhood. You're abandoning me, just like my ex? Even threats. I'll tell people you abused me. I recorded that last one too. Not to use, just to remind myself later that I wasn't crazy. When she grabbed my wrist, nails digging in, Linda stepped between us. Enough, her mother said, soft but steel-lined. We raised you better. Emily muttered something about no one understanding anxiety disorders. Dr. Patel, still present because he'd insisted on staying until we had a practical plan, said, anxiety is real, so is accountability. They can coexist. He gave me a card for a colleague. You should process this too. And told Emily he expected her next session to be the first honest one or the last. The condo felt bigger with her boxes lined up like tiny barricades. Lucas showed up with Whataburger, and that look guys give when they want a hug but aren't sure you're a hug guy. We sat on the floor between towers of cardboard, dipping fries in spicy ketchup, replaying snippets of the audio like it was game tape. Dude, he said, shaking his head, the timing. It's like she had a teleprompter implanted. I laughed for the first time in days, and it came out raw, rusty. We scrolled her Instagram together, caption after caption about healing and protecting your peace, and I felt this weird blend of pity and fury. Mostly, though, relief. Relief, like finally exhaling after holding your breath through a tunnel. I changed the Wi-Fi password. I swapped out the smart lock code. I took Lenny to the balcony. Sorry, dude, you didn't ask to be part of this, and promised to keep him alive until tomorrow. Night hit. Austin's skyline blinked in different neon. I lay on the couch because the bed felt contaminated by arguments and thumbed through a blank notes app page. Bullet points: cancel joint Costco membership, call landlord, password audit, STD test, because trust but verify, therapy Monday. I typed out what happened in plain, unembellished sentences, the way cops write reports. Not for Reddit yet, but for myself so the gaslighting ghosts couldn't whisper, it wasn't that bad. Around 2 a.m. my phone buzzed, unknown number, voicemail. Emily, sobbing, different sobs this time, less performative, more panicked. I messed up, I don't know how to fix it, please don't tell my dad everything. I deleted it without listening twice. Not cruel, just done. Boundary set, like a fence finally hammered into soil. Morning brought a different kind of quiet. I made coffee, black, because she used to add oat milk and cinnamon, and the smell now made me grit my teeth. Tom and Linda came back with U-Haul boxes, and that resigned air of parents who've been through a few disasters and know the drill. Lift, tape, don't cry till you're in the truck. Emily drifted in, eyes puffy, no mascara. She didn't fake a gasp. She didn't clutch her chest. She just started folding clothes, methodical. At one point, she held up the hoodie I used to wear on late grocery runs, pressed it to her face, then put it in the box without a word. When she got to the nightstand, she found the printed transcripts Lucas had run for me, her I can't breathe monologues spelled out in courier font. She stared at them for a long moment before sliding them into her purse. Souvenir? Evidence? I didn't ask. By noon, the place was half empty, and the echo of footsteps on hardwood sounded like a new start. Dr. Patel texted to check in. I sent a thumbs up and booked an appointment with his colleague. Lucas suggested a divorce party at the batting cages, Texas therapy. I said maybe next week. Right then I wanted silence, not emptiness, space. Space without someone weaponizing oxygen. When the door finally clicked shut behind Emily and her parents, I leaned my head against it and laughed again, quieter this time. Not joy, not victory. Just the absurdity of a life where an Apple Watch ping detonated a relationship and a voicemail became a judge, jury, and exit sign. I opened the fridge, grabbed the leftover taco meat from Tuesday, the night everything cracked, and ate it cold over the sink like a cliché bachelor. Then I sat down, opened Reddit, and started typing. Not for revenge, for catharsis. For the guy out there Googling, is recording my girlfriend legal Texas trust issues panic attack. At 3 a.m. For the me from 2 weeks ago, begging a friend and a therapist to tell him he wasn't crazy. I titled it something clickbaity. Her panic attack paused mid-cry when his text came in. Because, well, algorithm, and I told the story straight. Word for word. The post hit r/true off my chest like a spark in dry grass. By the time I finished a second cup of coffee, it had a few hundred upvotes. After lunch, thousands. Notifications stacked like Jenga blocks. Strangers called me bro, king, evidence goblin. One woman wrote, "As someone with legit panic disorder, I'm furious on your behalf. She turned my reality into your muzzle." Mods messaged asking if they could sticky it for a day. A YouTube narrator DM'd for permission to read it over lo-fi beats. I said yes, partly because the absurdity amused me, and partly because getting the story out of my head felt like cracking a window in a smoky room. Tyler even surfaced, anonymous account, but his syntax was fratty and familiar. "You didn't have to humiliate her, man, she was hurting." I typed, deleted, retyped, then settled on, "She sent I'm outside while fake gasping. That's not hurt, that's strategy." He vanished. Classic. Offline life kept moving with unromantic precision. Monday morning, HR pinged me about open enrollment. The cognitive dissonance of picking dental coverage while fielding DMs about betrayal was almost funny. I forwarded the lease termination form to the landlord, who replied with a bland, "Received, processing." I swung by CVS for an STD panel, the fluorescent lights turning my sleepless eyes into raccoon circles on security cams. The nurse practitioner asked, "Any symptoms?" I almost laughed. Only the symptom of not knowing what I didn't know. Back home, I cleaned like a man possessed, not rage cleaning, ritual cleaning. Sheets boiling in the wash, toothbrush heads replaced, Lenny watered and repositioned to catch better light. A Spotify playlist without a single song we'd shared. Little exorcisms. Tuesday night, Tom called. "We talked to Emily," he said, voice gravelly but less stormy. "She's going to start intensive therapy, DBT, the doc said. She asked me to tell you she's sorry. I told her apologies go to the person, not through a courier. But she's fragile." I let that sit. "Fragile people can still swing hammers," I said. He was quiet then. "Point taken. Anything you need from us?" It felt strange to be offered parents I hadn't earned, but I thanked him and said I was okay. After we hung up, I replayed the living room scene in my head. Not to savor it, but to remind myself I hadn't imagined the chorus effect. The word suffocating still echoed in my skull like a stubborn earworm. Midweek, Dr. Patel's colleague, Dr. Nguyen, met me in a minimalist office that smelled like eucalyptus and printer ink. I spilled everything, voice bouncing between clinical and incredulous. She nodded, asked where I felt the anger, jaw fists, where I felt the relief, lower ribs oddly enough, and then asked the question I didn't expect. "What did you ignore early because it was easier to accept the performance?" I flinched. Performances aren't just for the actor. There's always an audience. I thought about the first time Emily couldn't breathe when I mentioned an ex. How I'd been secretly flattered by the idea that she cared so much she physically crumpled. Ouch. Dr. Nguyen gave homework. Write a list titled Non-Negotiables, another titled Signs I'm Gaslighting Myself, and a third, What Safety Actually Feels Like. No Reddit, no crowdsource, just me and a pen. I balked, then did it. Under non-negotiables, I wrote, honesty without theatrics, accountability without an ambulance. Under gaslighting signs, apologizing for asking basic questions, feeling afraid of a calm conversation. Under safety, the freedom to ask why without someone pretending to die. Friday brought an email from Emily. Subject, closure? Please. The body was a roller coaster. I know I hurt you, you hurt me too by recording. I was traumatized as a kid, you knew that. We could be great if you could just trust. I'm terrified of being alone, please. There it was again. One of the lines from the tapes, when trust feels conditional. I could hear the cadence in my head. I responded with 3 sentences. I am not continuing this relationship. Do not contact me again unless it's about logistics. Take care of yourself. No venom, no essays. Dr. Nguyen would be proud. She wrote back once more, so you're abandoning me. I didn't answer. Silence as boundary, not punishment. The landlord scheduled our joint walkthrough. Emily showed up with a friend I didn't know, a petite brunette named Casey, who radiated, "I'll fight you on TikTok if needed" energy. I greeted them. Phone in pocket, recording out of habit now. Emily tried a softer script. No gasps, but the same semantic pattern. I feel unsafe when you're cold. You're interrogating me with your silence. Casey glared until I produced the printed termination letter and deposit agreement. We're here to sign, not to relitigate, I said. The landlord droned through move-out clauses. Emily fidgeted. When she finally signed, her hand shook. For a second, I saw the person I fell for, the one who cried at dog rescue videos and danced while cooking, before the image dissolved into the woman who could toggle panic like a faucet. After they left, I stood in the empty dining area, the echo of their footsteps still bouncing, and realized the condo didn't smell like new carpet anymore. It smelled like lemon cleaner and potential. The Reddit post got cross-posted to r/best of Redditor updates without my doing. Comments there were even wilder. Armchair psychologists, law students arguing about consent statutes, folks sharing "my ex used migraines instead of panic attacks" stories. A pattern emerged. People who'd been trained to feel cruel for asking for clarity. I DM'd a few who sounded raw, recommended therapy, reiterated that recording in one-party states is legal, but use it ethically. Lucas joked I should start a podcast called Receipt Guys. Hard pass. I didn't want this to be my personality. I wanted it to be a cautionary tale I told once, like burning your hand on a stove, so others touch the pot with a towel. 2 weeks out, my sleep normalized. My appetite came back. I even laughed at a dumb meme without it feeling like a distraction. Then an odd twist. Dr. Patel asked permission to use the anonymized audio in a training about maladaptive coping masquerading as crisis. I said yes, on one condition. He also emphasized that actual panic is real and not to be discounted, so nobody uses my story as an excuse to dismiss real attacks. He agreed. The idea that a room full of therapists might learn something from my 99-cent voice memo app felt like cosmic irony. Emily's last ripple hit via mutual friends. Jenna, a barista who used to double date with us, texted, "Em told people you audio deepfaked her? That true?" I sent Jenna a single clip with the timestamp and Apple Watch ping. She responded with a skull emoji and NVM. The small relief of not being the villain in someone else's narrative mattered more than I expected. Another friend, Nate, confessed he'd seen Emily at Tyler's place more than once, but didn't want to get involved. I told him I appreciated the honesty now, but that part of growing up is getting involved when harm's being done. Not lecture, just truth. He took it well. By month's end, I'd replaced the couch, too many memories, painted an accent wall, midnight blue because it made the condo feel like a lounge rather than a crime scene, and adopted a dog. Not as a rebound, more as a living creature that couldn't weaponize words. His name's Baxter, a mutt with one ear that flops inward like a bad origami fold. He breathes loudly when he's content, which is its own kind of healing, the sound of honest, uncomplicated breath. One night, I scrolled past my own post in a compilation video. The narrator's voice was gravelly, dramatic. Hearing her panic attack paused mid-cry when his text came in through a stranger's speaker made me cringe and chuckle. He got the beats right, missed some nuance, but whatever. Content. Comments under the video debated whether I was too calm. Trauma response looks weird in 4K, I guess. I typed a reply, then stopped. My story had become part of the collective, and that's fine. I didn't need to curate it anymore. Randomly, on a Sunday morning run around Ladybird Lake, I saw Emily. She was on a bench, hoodie up despite the heat, staring at the water. We made eye contact. No gasps, no theatrics, just two people who knew too much about each other. She lifted a hand halfway in a wave, then dropped it. I nodded once and kept jogging. My heart rate spiked, not from panic, from adrenaline, but it settled. By the time I reached the boardwalk, my breathing was steady. Honest breath, not staged. That felt like the real epilogue, even if no one on Reddit would ever read it. Back home, Baxter collapsed on my feet, and I opened the Notes app again. This time not to log evidence, but to add to the what safety actually feels like list. Dog snoring, walls painted your color, friends who show up with fries, therapists who ask the hard angles, a dad-in-law of sorts who offers help without strings, silence that doesn't feel like punishment, the ability to say no without bracing for someone to feign collapse. I scrolled up to the top, to the line I'd bolded mentally. I am not crazy for wanting transparency. I underlined it twice, the way a kid circles answers they're sure of. Then I closed the app, tossed a tennis ball down the hall, and watched Baxter skid and scramble after it, breath loud, honest, alive.